The night felt too quiet, as if the darkness itself waited for something to break its fragile calm. A single message appeared on Emily's phone, shaking her more than she cared to admit. Someone knew her secret, the one she had buried so deeply she believed it had died long ago. The words were precise, cruel, and cold enough to freeze the breath in her chest. She scanned the empty street outside her window, certain the sender was closer than she imagined. Every shadow shifted, every distant sound stretched into a threat she could almost touch. And before she could gather a thought, another message arrived, promising the night had only just begun. Emily paced across her small living room, trying to steady her shaking hands. The second message glowed on her screen, colder than the first one. It said her past was returning, and nothing she built would survive it. She locked the door, even though she knew it would not stop anything. Her mind drifted back to the night she left her hometown without goodbye. She had run from a mistake that grew teeth and followed her for years. Only 3 people had known the truth, and 2 of them had vanished. The third one had sworn silence, but promises had a way of breaking. Emily checked the corners of the room, as if danger hid in the dust. Her breath fogged the glass, and she leaned closer to the dark window. A car rolled slowly past her building, moving like it searched for something. She stepped back, pulse pounding, afraid the driver might be watching her. Her phone buzzed again, and the sound made her jump a little. The message said she still owed a debt, and it was time to pay. Emily felt the weight of those words settle like ice in her chest. She typed a reply, but deleted it when her fingers refused to stay steady. Part of her wanted to run again, but she had nowhere else to go. Another part of her knew running would only feed whoever hunted her. She checked the hallway through the peephole, but saw only dim yellow light. Her neighbor's door stood slightly open, a thin crack she never noticed before. She wondered if someone had been inside her building without anyone hearing. Emily grabbed a jacket, though she did not know why she needed it. She walked to the kitchen and opened a drawer filled with useless things. Her hand hovered over a small knife she never used for cooking. She did not take it, afraid of what fear might push her to do. Her phone vibrated again, and this time the message was a photo. It showed the street, outside her building, taken only moments earlier. The angle looked like someone stood right below her window with a camera. Emily's knees weakened as she backed into the counter, gripping the edge hard. She tried to call someone, but she had no one left to trust. The few friends she once had drifted away when her lies caught them too. She told herself she deserved this, though the thought made her stomach twist. She replayed her past like a broken tape she could not shut off. The fight, the scream, the accident, and the silence that followed her escape. Emily felt the memories tightening around her like ropes she once loosened. Her phone lit again, but this time it was a voice message. She hesitated before pressing play, afraid of the voice waiting for her. A low whisper filled the room, speaking her name with slow precision. It said the truth always finds a way home, no matter how far she runs. Emily stared at the phone, knowing the past she buried had finally arrived. Emily replayed the whisper again, trying to identify the voice behind the cold tone. It sounded familiar, but time had blurred the edges of every memory she tried to forget. She placed the phone on the table, as if distance could soften the threat. Her thoughts raced to Michael, the only person who once protected her from herself. He had warned her that secrets rot, and rot spreads until nothing stands. She wondered if he had finally given up on silence after all these years. But the voice did not sound like him, and that terrified her even more. Emily walked to the window and pulled the curtain only a fraction aside. The street below was empty, yet she felt eyes watching her from every shadow. A quiet beep came from her laptop, signaling a new email she never expected. She opened it slowly, and the subject line struck her like a punch to the ribs. It said the truth was ready to surface, and she would drown if she resisted. Emily scrolled down and found an attachment labeled with the year she fled. Her fingers trembled so hard the cursor shook before she clicked the file. A grainy video loaded, showing a night she hoped no camera had ever witnessed. She saw herself younger, angry, and cornered in a room filled with broken trust. She watched the argument escalate until the moment everything shattered for good. The crash, the fall, the silence afterward, and her terrified decision to run. Emily slammed the laptop shut as if it burned her with old guilt. She could not breathe, and the room felt suddenly too small to contain her fear. She grabbed her coat and stepped into the hallway, desperate for air and clarity. The building hummed with its usual stillness, but tonight it felt like a trap. The open door of her neighbor's apartment caught her attention again. She approached it slowly, unsure if curiosity or dread pulled her toward it. Inside, the lights were off, and a faint metallic smell drifted into the hall. Emily backed away when the floor creaked, as if someone shifted their weight inside. She hurried down the stairs, choosing to face the cold night instead of the silence. Outside, the streetlights flickered, turning the neighborhood into a dim maze. She wrapped her coat tighter as she walked, unsure of her destination. Her steps echoed louder than usual, feeding the paranoia circling her mind. She looked over her shoulder every few seconds, afraid of what she might see. Her phone buzzed again, and she froze before daring to check it. The message said running at night only made the hunt more exciting. Emily turned in a slow circle, scanning the empty sidewalks for movement. A shadow shifted near a parked car, and she stepped backward instinctively. She whispered to herself to stay calm, but her voice cracked with fear. The shadow moved again, deliberate and patient, like a predator studying prey. Emily darted toward the main road, hoping the light and noise would save her. Her breath grew ragged as she reached a bus stop with one flickering bulb. She sat on the cold bench and tried to steady her heartbeat before it broke her. Her phone buzzed once more, delivering a final message that drained her completely. It said she could run all night, but the truth would sit beside her before dawn. Emily pressed her hands over her face, trying to calm the storm inside her chest. The bus stop felt empty, but every sound carried a threat she could not name. She tried to rationalize the messages, but logic fled when fear took over. Her mind drifted back to her high school years, the mistakes she tried to bury. A single argument had spiraled out of control, leaving scars she never healed. She had thought moving away would erase the past, but it followed her anyway. The messages confirmed what she feared most. The past never stays buried. Emily glanced at her phone again. Another message blinked like a warning light. It contained coordinates, precise and unnerving, pointing to a location she knew. It was the abandoned warehouse, by the river, where it all began years ago. Her stomach turned as she realized the sender wanted her to return there. She debated ignoring it, but something primal urged her to face what awaited. Emily stood and started walking, her footsteps quick despite the chill in the air. The streets were quieter now, the night swallowing every sound she made. She kept her coat tight, her eyes scanning alleys and shadows for movement. Her phone buzzed again, and the screen displayed only the word, "Hurry." Fear gnawed at her resolve, but curiosity and dread pushed her forward. She remembered the nights she spent planning her escape from her hometown. Every detail of that night came back, haunting her more than the empty streets. The warehouse grew larger as she approached, its silhouette dark against the moon. Emily's pulse quickened, and she felt her breath catch in her throat. She reached the rusted doors and paused, realizing they might open a door to hell. Her hand hovered over the handle, trembling as the wind whispered through cracks. She pushed it slowly, the hinges screaming like warnings no one else could hear. Inside, shadows danced across broken crates and shattered windows. The air smelled of damp wood and rust, a memory she could not escape. Emily stepped carefully, each footfall echoing loudly in the cavernous space. A faint sound made her stop, a soft shuffle like someone mirroring her movements. Her phone buzzed again, but she did not dare check it this time. Instead, She moved toward the center where the old crate stack had collapsed. She froze when she noticed a familiar object sticking out from the debris. It was a photograph of her younger self, smiling, unaware of the storm to come. Her fingers shook as she picked it up, heart thudding with both fear and recognition. The shadow shifted again, closer now, silent and patient like it had been waiting. Emily's mind raced through possible escapes, but every route seemed blocked. Her body tensed as the cold realization hit. She was not alone in the warehouse. A whisper carried through the darkness, calling her name softly but with intent. Emily took a deep breath and stepped forward, knowing whatever came next could destroy her. The night pressed around her, heavy with the weight of secrets and long-buried truths. Her phone vibrated one last time, sending a shiver down her spine like a prelude. It displayed a single phrase. "Face it, Emily. It's time to finish what started here." Emily's hands trembled as she clutched the photograph, unwilling to let it go. The warehouse felt alive, every shadow stretching and twisting like a warning. She stepped toward the sound, each movement deliberate, eyes scanning for motion. A sudden creak echoed from above, and she froze, heart slamming against her ribs. Something moved on the catwalk, unseen but undeniably present, watching her closely. Emily swallowed hard, wishing she had brought someone to face this nightmare with her. Her phone buzzed, the screen illuminating the darkness with a chilling blue light. The message said, "You can run, but the truth is already here, Emily." She tightened her grip on the photo, realizing the past had followed her exactly here. A cold draft swept through the broken windows, carrying whispers that felt like fingers. Emily took a step back, her mind racing for any plan to escape or hide. The shadow on the catwalk shifted, revealing a figure partially cloaked in darkness. Her breath caught as recognition hit. It was someone she thought she would never see. Michael stood there, older, hardened by years and secrets he had kept from her. He did not smile, and his eyes carried the weight of betrayal and fear alike. Emily's voice trembled when she spoke, asking why he had come, why now. Michael's gaze stayed fixed on her, voice low. "You can't hide anymore, Emily." The warehouse seemed to shrink around them, the walls pressing with memories. She stepped closer, desperation fueling her courage despite the fear that burned. "Why are you doing this?" she demanded, the photo shaking in her hands. He moved down from the catwalk, slow, deliberate, each step echoing ominously. "You know what you did. You left things unfinished and it's catching up." Emily's mind reeled, realizing the mistakes she ran from had grown into monsters. She remembered the argument, the crash, the faces she had tried to erase. Michael stopped just a few feet from her, the air between them thick with tension. "You left me to clean up your mess," he said, anger barely restrained. Emily shook her head, tears brimming, trying to explain, but words failed her. He extended a hand, not in comfort but as a challenge, a test of trust. "The only way out is to face it," he said, voice cutting through the heavy silence. Emily's fingers grazed the photograph again, a memory frozen yet accusing. She realized this was more than fear, more than threat. It was accountability. Her phone buzzed one last time, ignored now, a minor echo in the storm. Michael stepped closer, and she matched his pace, both hesitant and determined. They moved through the warehouse, confronting the wreckage, the silence, the past. Emily recognized each object, each shadow, a reminder of what she had done. She felt a strange clarity, a painful honesty settling like stones in her chest. Michael's gaze softened slightly, but the tension never fully left the space. They reached the center where the original accident had happened, empty yet alive. Emily dropped the photograph, watching it flutter to the ground between them. "I can't undo it," she whispered, voice raw, the warehouse swallowing her words. Michael nodded, acceptance mingled with grief. "No, but you can face it now." The past was here, but so was the chance to reconcile, to stop running forever. Emily took a deep breath, ready to confront what had followed her all these years. Emily stood frozen as Michael motioned toward the center of the warehouse. The broken crates and scattered debris seemed to pulse with memories of that night. She swallowed hard, feeling her chest tighten as the weight of years pressed down. Michael spoke slowly, every word deliberate. "You have to face the truth fully." Emily's hands trembled as she clenched them at her sides, unsure where to start. The air was thick with dust and tension, the past almost tangible around them. She remembered the argument, the screaming, the crash that changed everything. Every detail returned with brutal clarity, forcing her to confront what she avoided. Michael watched silently, patient but unyielding, as if reading her every thought. Emily's voice cracked as she spoke, admitting the lies she had told herself. "I ran because I was scared," she whispered, tears spilling onto her coat. Michael shook his head slightly, the faintest sign of sorrow crossing his face. "You ran, yes, but running doesn't erase what happened, Emily," he said. Emily's knees weakened as the full weight of guilt pressed against her. She recalled the people she hurt, the friendships broken by fear and lies. The warehouse felt colder, shadows lengthening as if leaning closer to hear. Her phone lay forgotten on the floor, silent for the first time in hours. Michael stepped closer, his voice firmer yet not unkind. "You can't change it." Emily nodded, the truth settling deep in her chest, heavy but undeniable. "I know," she said, trembling. "I can't fix it, but I don't want to hide anymore." Michael's eyes softened, the anger and betrayal mixing with relief somehow. He gestured toward the debris. "Look at this. This is where it all started." Emily's gaze followed, recognizing every broken crate, every shattered plank. She felt the ghosts of that night, but also the strange strength that came with honesty. "I remember," she said quietly, voice firming. "I remember everything now." Michael nodded, his own breathing slow, controlled, the storm between them easing. Emily took a hesitant step toward the center, facing the wreckage she once feared. Every memory flashed, painful and raw, but she did not turn away this time. The past loomed large, but she realized fear had no power over acknowledgement. Michael stayed close, a silent anchor as she confronted years of mistakes. "I don't want to run anymore," Emily said, tears streaking her cheeks. The warehouse seemed to exhale with her words, shadows receding slightly. Michael offered no judgment, only a presence that demanded truth and courage. Emily's fingers brushed over a splintered piece of wood, recalling the crash. She closed her eyes and let the memory wash over her without resistance. Her chest felt lighter, the knot of fear loosening just a fraction. "I'm ready," she whispered, more to herself than to Michael, steadying her resolve. Michael nodded once, a quiet acknowledgement, not praise, not blame. Emily looked around, seeing the remnants of the past for what they were. Broken, yes, but a part of her story that she could finally face honestly. The night outside pressed against the warehouse, but inside, a fragile calm grew. Emily stood tall, no longer fleeing, ready to accept the consequences fully. The messages, the shadows, the haunting, they had all led her to this moment. She took a deep breath, feeling the first taste of courage in years. Michael remained nearby, silent but present, as Emily took the first step forward. The past had arrived, but for the first time, she was no longer running from it. Emily's eyes scanned the warehouse one last time, taking in every broken crate and shadow. The air felt heavier, but the weight now carried clarity instead of fear. Michael stood a few feet away, silent, letting her absorb the reality she had avoided. She realized that facing the past did not erase it, but it gave her control again. Her phone vibrated, but she ignored it, knowing no message could dictate her actions. The echoes of that night seemed to settle, no longer chasing her through the darkness. Emily stepped toward the center where the crash had happened, heart pounding steadily. She touched a splintered plank and felt the memory, sharp but no longer paralyzing. Michael followed, silent, letting her take the lead in confronting the old wounds. "I remember everything," she said softly, voice trembling but firm, "and I accept it." Her acknowledgement felt like a small exhale, after years of suffocating guilt. Michael's gaze softened, the tension between them easing as if the warehouse agreed. Emily walked through the debris, her steps careful, deliberate, reclaiming the space. The shadows that had once threatened now seemed to retreat, bowing to her courage. "I can't change the past," she admitted, "but I can decide how to live with it." Michael nodded slowly, silent approval in his eyes, the anger now replaced with understanding. Emily picked up the photograph she had dropped earlier, holding it with reverence. It was a reminder of who she was and what she had feared, now faced and named. She placed it gently back on the crate, a symbol of acceptance rather than shame. The warehouse felt less like a prison and more like a classroom of hard truths. Emily's fingers brushed over the walls, feeling the years of secrecy and denial. She realized every creak, every shadow, every message had led her here intentionally. "I am done running," she whispered, the words firm, almost defiant against the night. Michael stepped closer, his presence steady, a silent promise of support, not control. Emily took a deep breath, letting the weight of years settle without fear or resistance. Her phone buzzed again, but she did not reach for it. She no longer needed direction. She felt strength growing in her chest, small but undeniable, a beacon in darkness. Emily walked toward the main door, glancing back one last time at the wreckage. The memories lingered, but they no longer dictated her every thought and move. She felt a shift inside herself, a courage born from confronting every hidden truth. Michael followed quietly, letting her lead, understanding her need to claim her power. The night outside seemed less threatening, the city lights softer, more forgiving. Emily opened the warehouse door slowly, stepping into the cold air with purpose. She felt the wind on her face, sharp and alive, carrying a strange sense of freedom. Michael stayed close, but she felt no need for his protection, only presence. Emily looked ahead at the path she had avoided for years, now ready to walk it. Every shadow, every echo, every whisper that haunted her was now faced squarely. She felt her chest expand, with the first true breath she had taken in years. Emily's steps were steady, deliberate, carrying her toward life rather than escape. The past had followed her, but she no longer ran. She moved forward with clarity. Michael walked beside her silently, a witness to the courage she finally embraced. The city stretched before her, full of possibilities, and Emily felt ready to meet them. For the first time, she knew fear would not control her, only guide her if she chose. Emily stepped into the night, past behind her, future ahead, heart steady and strong. Emily paused at the edge of the street, feeling the night air fill her lungs. The city lights shimmered, distant and alive, a promise of new beginnings. She no longer felt the icy grip of fear clutching her chest. Every shadow that had haunted her now seemed smaller, almost harmless. Michael walked beside her, silent, a steady presence without words. Emily glanced at him, a faint smile breaking through the tension she carried. Her phone remained in her pocket, silent, powerless against her newfound resolve. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past finally ease. Each step forward felt deliberate, a choice rather than an escape. Emily knew the memories would remain, but they no longer controlled her. She could face the world now, armed with honesty and hard-earned courage. The night no longer threatened. It embraced her with quiet possibility. Michael stayed close, not as a protector, but as a witness to her strength. Emily's eyes lifted to the skyline, knowing she had reclaimed her life. The past had followed her, but she had faced it and refused to run. With each step, she carried clarity, courage, and a fragile sense of peace. The city hummed around her, full of unknowns, and she welcomed them. Emily moved forward, free from shadows, ready to write her own story. The night faded gently into dawn, and she walked into it, unafraid and alive. For the first time in years, Emily felt whole, and the future was hers to claim.